In the last video, we saw Zhang Zi enter the second floor of the demon territory after saving his friend from kidnappers. The second floor has different monsters as compared to the first floor, and Zhang Zi adds them to his roster. The bloodthirsty bats and poison spiders are quite helpful in clearing the second floor, but another challenge awaits him before reaching the boss heaven-devouring frog. A gang of thugs have barricaded the only entrance to the boss cave and is demanding a fee to enter. Rakshasa takes up their offer and fools them into believing he is a rich man. Once they reach the boss, the leader of the thugs' money-earning superhero is about to defeat it alone, but Zhang Zi interferes. The thugs decide to let him do it as they think he would die a horrible death. But when Rakshasa defeats the frog, the thugs start demanding that he leaves everything he has. A fight breaks out when a discipline inspector of the Demon Territory Management Bureau named Natural Law joins the chaos. He fights the thugs along with Zhang Zi and defeats them. He is amazed and scared by the potential the hunter Rakshasa had and wants him to be closely monitored by the government. He even offers him to join the bureau, but Zhang Zi refuses. Zhang Zi moves to the third floor and then back home. He finds that his sister worked in the dance hall in a luxury club in their city without informing him. He rushes to save her from two VIPs who are harassing her. One of them is Cheng Feng, a genius with an S-rank talent. But Zhang Zi is able to easily defeat him and returns home after being rewarded by the owner of the club. The next day, he goes back to the third floor and finds that he would have to fight goblins on this level. The Goblin Warrior was a strong close-range monster, while the Goblin Stone Pelter was the more dangerous one. He fights a team of the two types of goblins, but the Goblin Stone Pelter runs away with just a little bit of HP left. In the meantime, Zhang Zi defeats the Goblin Warrior and adds it to his crew, but he is shocked to find that the violent rabbit he sent after the Goblin Stone Pelter was dead. He cannot believe that his violent rabbit would be defeated so easily, but the real reason behind it comes to light soon. He hears the voice of many footsteps coming at him. He turns back to find a horde of angry goblins led by the Goblin Stone Pelter that escaped earlier. Zhang Zi is scared for his life when he sees how many goblins he would have to fight. He returns all his summoned beasts to the summoning array, otherwise they would all die. He begins running with the goblins at his tail. He manages to get inside the protected area of the altar, but the monsters do not follow him. The wounded Stone Pelter warns the other goblins that it was not safe to approach the structure, and they leave after taunting Zhang Zi. Zhang Zi is also surprised on learning that the goblins were so intelligent. They knew the dangers of coming near the altar and could work as a team. But the other hunters are amused by what they see. They laugh that Rakshasa must have done something outrageous to attract this many goblin enemies. But Zhang Zi tries to form a new strategy against the goblins. They were intelligent. They could work together and run away when they sensed danger. It would not be easy to defeat them all at once. He would have to pick out one goblin at a time and stop it from running away. And he had the right monster for that. He finds another team of goblins. It can be concluded that they always moved in teams of two, a Goblin Warrior and a Goblin Stone Pelter. Zhang Zi sees that the teams were well balanced, but the Stone Pelter would run away, leaving his comrade to die. But this time he would not let it escape. He summons a lava turtle and the Goblin Warrior he had recently acquired to fight the Goblin Warrior in the team. Meanwhile, he orders his Dark Shadow Wolf and Heaven-Devouring Frog to attack the long-range goblin. The Goblin Warrior is quickly defeated and the Goblin Stone Pelter is thinking about running away again. Its HP is one hit away from reaching 0 and it is cornered by boss-level monsters. He sees the chance and tries to run away, but Zhang Zi is prepared this time. He summons his poison spider and catches the goblin in its web. The goblin falls down and Zhang Zi and his summons surround it. He taunts the goblin that he should run away if he wanted to live, but then he orders his summons to beat the Goblin Stone Pelter to death. Once that is done, Zhang Zi summons the goblin. Its stats are very high, especially the damage stats are almost equal to the Dark Shadow Wolf. But now that he has another powerful long-range monster, Zhang Zi decides to complete his collection. He marches with his summons to hunt more goblins and add them to his team. They find more teams of only 2 goblins each and defeat them. Zhang Zi realizes that the poison spider's abilities were more useful than its damage. He needed to train it well so that he could use it on higher floors as well. But he loses a lava turtle in the battle as well and now has 7 goblins, 1 spider and 2 bosses in his team. He decides that this team was strong enough to face the floor boss. But when he goes to face the floor boss, Goblin King, he realizes it was not going to be easy. There is a wooden fortress guarded by goblins. In the center of the fortress, there was the tent of the Goblin King. All the goblins obeyed his commands and it would not be easy to fight all of them under one powerful leader. As Zhang Zi is thinking about his plan, he hears a man announcing something. He says that he had an S-rank talent and was taking the newbies to fight the boss under him. He was leading a team of 100 people and it was free. He is advertising it passionately, but Zhang Zi does not like the idea. He thinks that newbies who are carried by experts are given qualifications even though they are not capable. But what could be more dangerous was that the so-called experts could be frauds. They could lead to the death of many young people in some cases. And the man in the purple robe appears a fraud to him. The man approaches Zhang Zi and invites him to join his team. He says that he will not be charged anything and the loot would also be divided equally among all the people. But Zhang Zi is thinking that it would not be wise to show his abilities to a large group. He would find a weakly guarded entrance and use it later. So he declines the offer, saying that he would do it alone. But the newbies in the team think that he was making a mistake. They think that he is definitely going to regret his decision as soon as he is surrounded by the goblins. But Zhang Zi walks away from the crowd. He finds the exact place he was hoping to find, a less guarded gate to the camp. He summons his monsters and defeats the goblins at the gate and enters the fortress. He reaches the tent of the Goblin King but is shocked on hearing people cry for help. The party under the man in the purple robe was surrounded by goblins. The goblins were pressing them hard and Zhang Zi could notice that they were in a bad condition. But the man in the purple robe was not with them. All the hunters die from the assault of the goblins and the Goblin King. The Goblin King returns to his throne and laughs as soon as the bodies of his enemies begin to fade into nothingness. Zhang Zi realizes that all of this was a trap for the naive hunters. The man did not have an S-rank talent. He brought these kids to die here so that he could collect the loot dropped by them. He enters the camp and thinks that these people had lost their lives because someone was greedy to get a few low-quality magic soul orbs. He is shocked when a dagger is thrown right in front of him. The Goblin King had noticed the intruder. He growls and tells Zhang Zi that it was reckless to enter his room alone. Zhang Zi is shocked at listening to the Goblin King talk clearly. The goblin starts attacking him and he has to summon his goblins to stop them. He summons the goblin warriors to stop the other goblin warriors. The boss does not understand how some goblins could go against him and fight their brothers. But then Zhang Zi summons the rest of his monsters and tries to attack the Goblin King. But the king roars and says that their attacks were useless. He uses his skill Whirlwind Fist and kills the goblins Zhang Zi had sent to attack him. Zhang Zi is scared of his power and decides to stick with the long-range attacks. He orders the stone-pelting goblins and the heaven-devouring frog to attack the king and he also shoots him. But the Goblin King is even more formidable than Zhang Zi had thought. He can use his two swords to block the long-range attacks. Only some of the heaven-devouring frog's attacks reach him and he can block all of the stones and arrows shot at him. He declares that the intruder would be killed. Zhang Zi cannot think of a way to defeat the boss at this rate. The goblins under the king start attacking him and he somehow manages to block them with the help of his summoned goblins. He realizes he would lose his goblins at this rate. He is thinking about retreating when a dagger stabs him in the guts. The man in the purple robe is standing in front of him with the dagger. His hunter nickname was Kiss of Death. Zhang Zi is shocked on finding him there. But he cannot also believe he could not notice him or the attack coming. The man in the purple robe laughs that Zhang Zi must be a tough one because he survived a critical hit from his weapon. Zhang Zi curses him but the man just laughs and tells him about his talent. His skill was stealth. He could stay invisible until he attacked or got hurt. He boasts about it being really useful but Zhang Zi says that it was only useful when betraying newbies. He shouts that he must have been relying on that method because he could not kill monsters with his weird skill. But Kiss of Death agrees with everything he says. He tells Zhang Zi that if he had not interfered, he would have collected the orbs and gone away. But he not only enraged the boss but held out for this long. The evil man decides to kill him and then do what he always did, collect the loot. Zhang Zi realizes that he is surrounded by enemies on both sides. He was sandwiched between the Goblin King and the assassin. His goblin warriors were being defeated by the boss quickly and he was on the verge of dying if he received any more damage. But he gets the idea to use his venom spider against the evil man. He traps him in the web and starts to run away after calling back his monsters. The assassin reminds him that the boss did not want to attack anyone else but Zhang Zi. But Zhang Zi says that if he found anyone else in the way, the Goblin King would kill that person first. But Kiss of Death is not going to give up so easily. He curses Zhang Zi and activates his stealth skill again. The Goblin King was about to slash him but he is surprised when his target suddenly vanishes. The man in the purple robe counts down the time for the web to dissolve. He pledges to hunt down Zhang Zi as soon as he freed himself from the web. But Zhang Zi returns to the tent while the Goblin King is looking for the man who just vanished. The assassin does not realize what he was back for. Zhang Zi smiles and says that he realized that he could still turn invisible so he was there to make things easy for the Goblin King. He shoots an arrow at the evil man and his stealth skill is disrupted. He wonders how Zhang Zi could have aimed at him since he was invisible but he does not have the time to worry about it as the Goblin King is about to strike him. He gets injured badly but he thinks that if he can hold on a little more, he would be able to escape. But Zhang Zi's spider launches another round of web to keep him stuck at his place. Zhang Zi tells him that he aimed for the web when he hit him. That was as easy as it could be. He shoots him again and says that it was karma that he would die helplessly against the Goblin King. He had enjoyed the young people he tricked into being killed. Now it was his turn. The Goblin King delivers the final blow and the evil man dies while cursing Zhang Zi. Now it was the time to fight the boss again. He summons all his beasts to face the boss. But before that, he takes a look at the loot dropped by the man who just died. Zhang Zi is surprised that he had a lot of magic soul orbs. But the best thing he finds is a pair of white silk gloves. A rank gloves that would increase his attack power by 50 points. But he finds that his arrows still have no effect on the Goblin King. The Goblin King's assault continues and Zhang Zi is losing monsters quickly. But he uses his poison spider to stop the movement of the boss and also immobilizes one of his swords. Zhang Zi orders his summoned beasts to surround the boss and attack from every direction. The boss cannot defend himself from the attacks coming from all directions. Zhang Zi and his monsters slowly whittle down the health of the boss and manage to defeat it. He celebrates that he had won despite everything. The throne of the Goblin King breaks down and reveals the portal to the 4th floor. Zhang Zi collects all the orbs dropped by the boss and summons him. The first thing he does is smack the boss on his head because he was a troublesome enemy. But then he gets happy that he found such a powerful summon. He only had a goblin stone pelter and a poison spider apart from the 3 bosses now. Dark Shadow Wolf was the weakest of the 3 bosses, but it was going to level up soon. Zhang Zi decides that he should go to the 4th floor before the boss respawned. He would come back later and add more goblins to his team. But just as he is about to enter the portal, he hears someone ordering him to freeze. He is surrounded by a group of hunters and they order him to surrender peacefully. He sees that they are members of the Demon Territory Management Bureau. They surround him and are ready to attack at the slightest show of hostility. Their captain asks Zhang Zi where were the victims that joined his team. Zhang Zi tells them they are talking about someone else as he never formed a team. But the captain is furious and he says that they received a report that someone was tricking newbies and leading them to death. Hundreds of people died in the past year because of him. Another officer says that they were the inspection team and he would be wise to follow them. If he tried to resist, it would not be good. They also warn him that he could not run away to the 4th floor either. If he could evade their attacks and enter the portal anyhow, he would be stopped at the altar there. Zhang Zi calculates that he was against a dozen people who looked quite skilled. He was innocent and there was no need to fight them. He decides to surrender and tells them that he would go with them. But then someone enters the tent and tells the inspectors that the person they caught was not a criminal. Zhang Zi recognizes the man who declared he was innocent. Natural Law. He had been promoted to section chief because of the case he solved with the help of Rakshasa. He smiles and thanks him for his help to get an out-of-turn promotion. But the officers inform him that the hunter named Rakshasa was the only person in the room. He had to be the one who had lured innocent people here. Natural Law tells everyone that he could guarantee that Rakshasa was not the criminal they were looking for. Also, the suspect they were after was known as Kiss of Death. He asks Zhang Zi if he had seen the man nearby. Zhang Zi tells him that he had seen them and that the people he lured into the boss's tent were already dead. Everyone is horrified that many more lives were lost because they were late. But Zhang Zi also tells them that they could not capture Kiss of Death now, as he had been killed already. The officers do not believe him. Although it was only a claim by the hunter named Kiss of Death, he was supposed to have an S-rank talent. And he was also an expert who had years of experience. He was a skilled assassin and a terrifying person. It was unbelievable for a newbie to kill such a dangerous man alone. But Zhang Zi shows them that he had indeed killed him. He opens up his kill list and the person is there. The officers are shocked that a beginner who had entered the 3rd floor for the first time could kill a wanted criminal. They are impressed and ask him the details of how he did it. The officers remember that they were totally useless and weak when they were beginners. But Zhang Zi had to be a genius to do something like this on his own. But he does not tell them the details. Natural Law thanks him for getting rid of one more dangerous element from society. Zhang Zi replies that if there was nothing else to be done, he would like to leave for the 4th floor immediately. But Natural Law stops him to warn him about danger. The assassin Kiss of Death was a member of an evil organization named Dawn. They were extremely cunning and powerful. They were notorious for every crime imaginable in the world. The Bureau had been trying to find them, but they were too hard to capture. Rakshasa had killed one of them and that could put a target on his back. The evil organization might try to hunt him for revenge. Natural Law suggests Zhang Zi to join the Demon Territory Management Bureau to ensure his safety. Zhang Zi thinks seriously about the evil organization but refuses to join Natural Law. He says that he would be careful and try to be safe from the organization named Dawn. But he did not feel the need to join the Bureau for that. He leaves through the portal to enter the 4th floor and Natural Law says that he would get Rakshasa to join his team one day. Zhang Zi enters the 4th floor and finds that the altar is surrounded by a powerful barrier. All the hunters are inside and only a few people are outside. The people outside are also from the Bureau but not from the inspection team. The barrier was there to hold them inside because of something dangerous on the 4th floor. But the hunters are not happy about it. Is the barrier the trap mentioned by the officers to stop Kiss of Death? Or is it something else that will lead Zhang Zi to a new adventure? What will he find when he steps onto the 4th floor and what challenges will he face? Let us find out in the next video.